A few weeks into the school year, I want to take a second to thank everyone in Rochester Public Schools for the beginning that we've had. It's been a positive time. I've been out in our schools and have felt the energy and excitement. And I also want to acknowledge that it's been a challenging time as we've had some kids really getting readjusted to school after quite a few months at home, learning through screens and going through a lot of difficult things. And it's one of those moments when we're facing the challenge of managing, keeping our schools safe and open through COVID and dealing with other things, that it can be sort of difficult to see the forest for the trees or where we're headed long term. So the other day I was thinking about some work that I did with a group of high schools in a past position, and it was actually with 9th graders to try and help them adjust to high school. And to make a long story short, the theme that came out of that work was think forward, act now. And it was this idea that you got to have a long-term vision, but you can't wait to get serious about that vision someplace down the road. And so life is a mix of thinking forward and acting now. And so I thought I would just quickly share with you a way that we are trying in Rochester Public Schools to both think forward and act now. In the Think Forward category, we are kicking off the development of a new strategic action plan that is going to chart a course for long-term improvement in this amazing school district. And there's 5 priority areas that we're going to be looking at through the development of that plan. The first is outcomes and measures. What are we trying to achieve and how do we measure it? The second are what we're calling improvement systems. How do we get better at getting better? The third is economic engine. How do we have the resources, the enrollment, and other factors to afford the kind of education we want to provide all Rochester kids? The fourth is organizational culture. How do we create a school district in which all of us can be our best selves? And the fifth is family and community engagement. How do we really get connected to what our families and the organizations in this amazing community want? The plan will be developed through those groups, but also focus groups and a survey, and we hope to take it to the school board in May of 2022 for a decision. So that's kind of in the Think Forward category. But more immediately in the Act Now category, there's a couple of steps I'm excited to announce here that I think are some forward progress. I hope you agree. The first is that we are going to be shifting from paying employees once a month to bi-monthly, and we think that that will be helpful for all of our staff, but candidly in particular for staff for whom those paychecks are really, very important to meeting the everyday needs of life. So that's kind of Act Now change number 1. Act Now change number 2 is we've also made the decision that while we've been a school district operating with 2 technology ecosystems, Microsoft Outlook and Google, we now need to actually make a decision. And so next summer we're going to be migrating entirely to the Google Suite, which will mean most immediately we will be using Gmail and Google Calendar for that functionality, which aligns with what we're doing with our students. Doesn't mean you're going to have to give up things like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and Excel, because we'll still have those as part of buying our operating systems. But it's another small but we think important example of how we're trying to make sure that we really are providing the best environment for our educators, our kids, and our community. So a couple of quick examples of how we're trying to think forward and act now in our work in Rochester Public Schools, and I hope you're able to do that as well in the work you're doing in your classrooms and your buildings this fall.